As you can see on this first screen here, the whole purpose of our EDI Integrator e-commerce software is to eliminate tedious manual keying of customer orders and improve accuracy. And that'll be the theme as we go through this more and more. For those of you who may not be familiar with our company, this is my picture on the right here. I'm on the shop floor at one of our customers. And if you look on the left, you can see that we have been in business forever. We have worked with the Macola software forever. Our breakdown, 90% of our customers are manufacturers. The remainder are distributors. We are located in Cincinnati, Ohio, right in the middle of the United States. And I think what's most important for you to remember is that is what we do. We develop software that makes your Macola software easier to use. In fact, much easier to use. So you'll see that today. And because we've worked with Macola for so many years, we know where the sort of shortcomings are, or we know where there's opportunities to introduce more efficiency. And the area that we're going to discuss today is the entry of customer orders, rather than have to manually key them in, to look for opportunities to get those in the file, and then to be able to electronically import those into Macola. So again, we develop software that makes your Macola software much easier to use. This is a little bit of an overview of what our Pulse eCommerce EDI Integrator software does. Again, eliminates tedious keying and improves accuracy. So the first thing is that when we first started the software, maybe 10 or 12 years ago, we were just importing orders from a customer's website. Now it's expanded greatly to a variety of different websites, whether they be Shopify, Amazon, Walmart, just tons and tons of different commercial sites. eBay is even one of them, and we've developed interfaces with those. More recently, maybe the past 5 years, is we are now importing orders from EDI services. So a lot of companies over the years have been pushed into EDI by their customers to be sort of EDI quote compliant, but the orders weren't integrated into Macola. So they signed up with a license for IBM or with SPS Commerce, but they were doing what we call rip and read. They would rip the report off the printer, read it, and rekey it. But now we have a full integration, a two-way integration with EDI, any EDI service that's out there. Something that's brand new is the ability to, and we're just getting started with this, the ability to import orders from a PDF file. And we've teamed up with a company called Ancora, and what they do is they have software that will read a PDF file. It has to go through a little bit of AI learning, but the software learns for company A, where's the purchase order number, where's the product, where's the quantity, where's the price, and then it over time, then it doesn't require any human interface. So that's something new. It's not an inexpensive product, so it's really designed for people that have a substantial amount of PDF files, or when they do get PDF files, they're huge. I'll give you an idea. We're talking to somebody now who brings in orders on PDF files that are 200 lines long. So imagine that your job is to key those 200 lines in with no accuracy. It's a several-day project. I mentioned text files down here because that's just sort of a generic way. Sometimes people bring back from a trade show, they bring back orders in Excel. But the important thing is that we can import orders from any service, anything that exists out there. Okay, so if you're interfacing with EDI, you have an obligation to be able to send back information. So the export section here says we're exporting order acknowledgements, which is what's called an EDI 855. It's an 855 transaction type. So we're sending back order acknowledgements. We're sending back advanced shipping notices. We're sending back electronic versions of the invoices. And then optionally, for example, with Shopify, there's an ability to send back inventory levels. And then we also have the ability to send back UPS tracking numbers. So again, this is the overview that we can import any file that exists, any service, any website, any EDI, pull that into Macola, and then if you're using EDI, we can import transactions back. So it's a lot to cover, but it sort of sets the stage for what we're doing. This chart is designed to show you real basically how our software works. You can see in the middle that there's data validation that's going on. Since we are in the dashboard business, we do not just shove data into Macola. It has to be edited. So for example, our Pulse e-commerce software replicates 100% of the editing that Macola goes through when an order comes in. So those everything to do with the customer number, everything to do with the item number, pricing, terms, and so on. So it's showing on this chart that you have e-commerce websites, Amazon, Shopify, etc. Another source is EDI, another source is PDF files, but all of them go through the same identical data validation. And because we are in the dashboard business, you'll see in a moment that we have developed a dashboard for this, so you can see the orders coming in, and you can, if there's an error, you can fix it. Now, as time goes by, you're not going to look at all the orders, but at the beginning, it's real important that the users develop confidence that the data is coming in accurately, that it's coming in the way they want it to, and before they push it into Macola. So the whole idea here is that you're viewing the data before it goes into Macola, and then you can fix any errors or adjust anything that you want to. One of the key selling points that we have with our software is that these mappings, those are where we say, okay, this field, maybe it's called PO number on the file, but that really is the Macola order number. So we have very flexible mapping, and it's user-defined mapping. So, for example, if your IT personnel want to do the mapping themselves, we can get you started on the first few of them, and then from there you can do it yourself. So there's no programming that's involved where you have to you don't have to be a technical person. So we push that into Macola, and then you're seeing the exporting of the EDI data, the order acknowledgement that we talked about before, the ASN, and the customer invoice. Okay, so that is the beginning of our, I'm going to go to the software right now. And I purposely, as I import orders, you're going to see I purposely have created a problem in the order, in one of the orders. That's this red one. But let's do this again. I mentioned stress before. I'm going to clear the screen. I'm going to do this again. We're bringing in like 10 orders with, I think, 100 line items. And again, each one is being validated, each data field. And I'm going to do this again. So I'll stop talking. You can kind of use your stopwatch. You'll see that it's taking 140 line items in about 2 seconds, maybe 1 second. Maybe that was 2.5 seconds. Now for each one of these, then you can click on this, and here's the order. So this first order that came in, order 100, has 14 line items on it. And you can edit the billing addresses if there was something that needed to be changed. Everything is very flexible. These are, if this customer was getting a special special terms, it is possible to go in here and change any of the data fields. But this is the default salesperson, this is default terms, this is the default sales tax, the default ship via, and so on. So you're probably curious, what's the deal with this red one down here? So I purposely have created an error in this one order so that you can see what happens if there's a problem. So I'm going to click on this order, and you can see down here, it doesn't like, if I hover over here, it says no item number can be found. That's called data bus, DATA-BUSS. So what I'm going to do to fix this, I'm going to click on this field, this single click right there. And this brings up my item master. So I'm going to put in the word data because I can't figure out how could somebody have this spelled wrong. Ah, look what happened. It's supposed to be DATABUS, one S, and somebody keyed it in with two S's. So you just click that. So again, what I'm doing is I can just click on any of these fields. It brings up the item master. I can find the right item, and it fixes it there. And even if I wanted to delete that line item, I could just hit this minus sign and delete that from the order. So let's do this whole process over again. Okay, so now the error is gone and we're ready in the upper right corner, we're ready to push that into Macola. So let's do this one more time and talk about the ease of and how fast this is working. So here I'm going to clear the screen and I'm going to import the orders one more time. And there we are, 140 line items. I'm going to click on here, you know the drill now. I'm going to click on data bus. I'm going to select the correct one. And at this point, I'm going to push the orders into Macola. I'm in the button that's in the upper right corner. So I'm going to click that. And it took those 10 orders, maybe it took 3 seconds. This is a recap of the orders. So now those orders are in Macola. This is sort of your audit trail. You could export that to Excel if you wanted to, but you really don't need to because there's a history file. Okay, now why do we have that? Okay, so this is what happens sometimes, is a customer calls up and says, did you get my order? And you look in there, no, I didn't get your order. Well, something went wrong with the system, and you don't have any way to really diagnose or to dive into that. So the first thing you would do would be to look up that order on the day it came in. I'm looking for that order. It's not there, or it is there. So this is helping you with, kind of supporting what came in or what did not come in. We have an unattended version, which would mean that you do not have to manually import these orders. And so what happens if there's an error? Well, first of all, the unattended version is constantly polling. So if you're going to a website, you're going to Shopify, it's constantly polling Shopify, bringing in orders. If there's a problem with the order, it holds it. In other words, we'll make believe here, it would take these 9 orders, push them into Macola, and it would send you an email message saying there's a problem with one order 1000. You need to go in and fix it. So until you fix it, it's going to stay hung here. If you'd like to have a private demo with your management team or your people in customer service, please give us a call.